Bomber's the best grenade launcher in the game right now. If you use anything else, you're not playing the game right. If you don't play sixes, you don't play TF2 properly.
Yeah, anyways, aside from me dumping 30 empty LaCroix cans on the floor for a joke, the Lock and Load has gone through this weird roller coaster of changes over the past 5 years or so. Its current state seemingly leaves something to be desired, especially since most Demo Man players are used to rollers and a clip size of 4 shots. Despite this, I think the Lock and Load is in a perfectly fine state, and it can be a lot of fun to use as an equal side grade to the stock grenade launcher. So here's why.
Now, Dennis, I've heard that speed has something to do with it. Speed has everything to do with it.
So before I do my usual rigmarole of diving into what the Lock and Load does and why you should be using it, I gotta tell you the tale of how we got here in the first place with this weird primary. The Lock and Load was added all the way back in 2010, and the original stats, for those that weren't around back then, were very different than what they are now. The old Lock and Load only had 2 shots, with a straight 10% damage bonus and a 25% self-damage penalty. It also had that same 20% faster projectile speed and surface-breaking grenades that it still has today. In 2011, they bumped this damage bonus to 20%. Now, this may not sound too bad. That's 2 shots that each deal out 120 damage apiece. That's strong, sure, but again, that's only 2 shots. But here's the thing, though. Back in the day, TF2 had this lovely little thing called random damage variance. This meant that your 120 damage shot could potentially do 126 damage. So you could, potentially, at random, one-shot light classes. In effect, the old Lock and Load was basically the direct hit for Demo Man, but it was even better because, unlike rockets, pipes have no fall-off damage, so you could just lob-slob a pipe across the map and one-shot somebody.
Oh my god!
Again, the limiting factor was the clip size of 2 shots. It was really the only thing holding back the old Lock and Load from being overpowered. Then Smith of 2014 happened, and the rebalancing roller coaster finally set off down the tracks. For some reason, the TF team opted to bump the clip size from 2 to 3 shots, and they also swapped out that 25% self-damage penalty for a 25% smaller blast radius. They also capped the random damage variance to 124, which might as well be nothing, because a light class at 1 health is effectively dead anyway.
This sucks!
But they also did one more thing. They removed the tumbling effect from grenades, which isn't just a visual change. This meant less simulated air resistance on airborne pipes, so your 25% faster shots now went even further. The newly rebalanced Lock and Load rapidly became the new pub meta. Scouts and snipers were getting blasted left and right, fucking flying everywhere. Demo men were zipping around the map using the new tide turner that was added that past June. It was absolute fucking chaos. This was easily the most overpowered state of a weapon in TF2's history, and the Lock and Load remained in this state for over half a year until the gunmetal update in summer of 2015, which just added one simple change. They swapped out the straight 20% damage bonus for a 20% damage bonus against buildings only. Oh, and they removed the random damage variance from the game, so grenades were permanently capped at 100 damage per shot against players, just like stock. Fuck. So, we were ultimately left with a Lock and Load that has a 20% damage bonus against buildings and a 25% faster projectile speed, but at the cost of 1 less pipe in the clip, no rollers, and a 25% smaller blast radius. That sounds pretty underpowered, but let me convince you otherwise. First of all, your shots with the Lock and Load go really fucking far.
Gotta do it good, lad.
That 25% faster projectile speed extends the Demo Man's reach with his primary considerably, which counteracts one of the Demo Man's greatest weaknesses, his lack of range. The Demo Man is brutally powerful at medium to close range, but anything beyond that, and he really can't do shit. Unless you sticky jump in to close the distance, lose half your health in the process, and die after maybe getting 1 kill. The Lock and Load significantly boosts the Demo Man's effective range, which is more of a bonus than you may think. You can hit previously untouchable targets and hit faster moving targets at a wider set of distances. And you can take out sentry nests with ease, well outside of their auto-lock radius. Just look at the difference between stock, the Iron Bomber, and the lock and load. And this is just on a flat surface in a controlled environment. You can land shots using angles that are otherwise impossible with other grenade launchers. You can also hit shots that you normally couldn't hit with any other grenade launcher, like this one.
Oh my god!
Something else that the lock and load's increased projectile speed provides is higher DPS, or damage per second. Your firing rate and reload speed are the same as the stock grenade launcher, but your projectiles move faster. Ergo, an overall faster damage output, especially on the first 3 shots. This paired with the 20% damage bonus against buildings, and you can really give engineers a run for their money if they're trying to hold out against you, since they are less likely to be able to out-repair your damage. And did I mention that 20% damage bonus against buildings yet? I did? Well, you're hearing it again. You can 2-shot any engineer building with the lock and load, compared to at least 3 shots for level 3 buildings with any other grenade launcher. And you can do it from 1.5 miles away. This is the general conclusion that I've come to. You lose your normal area denial abilities with the stock grenade launcher in exchange for a substantial boost in offensive attack power with the lock and load. You have greater range, higher DPS, and you can destroy engineer buildings very quickly. Faster moving targets are now within your reach, and targets that were previously untouchable are now touchable. That's weird. Hold on. Putting all of these things together, the positives and the negatives neatly balance each other out. Item descriptions are often misleading. Weapons can be more or less effective than as advertised. And that's pretty much all I got. The lock and load is a really fun weapon to use despite its seemingly brutal drawbacks. Try it out, but bear in mind when you first start using the lock and load, it is very tricky to get used to that different projectile speed, and you will miss a lot of your shots. But practice makes perfect. Initially, you will miss a lot of your shots, but as you use it more, the lock and load trains you how to lead your shots and land direct hits with your pipes, which is an easily transferable skill to other projectile-based weaponry in the game. Go on and give the lock and load a shot. It's a really fun weapon to use, despite the negative stigma it received for being a once brutally overpowered weapon before getting seemingly nerfed into the floor. Now, where have I seen that before? Also, I would just like to acknowledge that the lock and load has 2 barrels with 3 shots that manifest from the top barrel, even though all 3 pipes are crammed into the bottom barrel, and unusual lock and loads have the effect manifest from the top barrel. Why? Why? What the fuck?